Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, June 27, 2014. The top story, the crisis in Iraq is boiling over. They're fighting over oil refineries, oil fields. They're fighting over water for Baghdad and dams. It's absolutely off the charts, out of control over there, but at its core, this is a religious war against Sunnis and Shia Muslims. At its core, that's what this is. You know, the U.S. has completely screwed this up. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. They have armed both sides. They have armed the al-Maliki administration in Iraq. Those are the people who are in power. They're Shia. They're being helped by the Iranians, physically, militarily, by the Iranians. These are the people that President Bush said were part of the axis of evil. We're on the same side as Iran. Nobody really wants to talk about that, but they are there. They are there militarily, and they are helping the al-Maliki regime fend off this attack by the terrorists called ISIS, or ISIL, or ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And, you know, these folks, these ISIS people, their leader was somebody that we had in custody that we let loose. We have been arming the Syrian rebels, as I've been telling you about for the last year and a half or 2 years, in part. Foreign media has said that, half the Syrian rebels are al-Qaeda. Even John Kerry and administration officials have said it's 20–25%. But don't worry about it. John McCain went over there, had his picture taken with top al-Qaeda commanders. I mean, we, in part, armed this ISIS, this ISIS. And you know who else helped arm them? Saudi Arabia. That's right. They're Sunni. ISIS is Sunni. And they have helped arm them as well, and in a big way. Now, think about this. We are in a damned if we do and damned if we do kind of scenario. We're damned if we do if we help, continue to help ISIS and the rebels, and you know what? We're doing that. President Obama has asked Congress is going to ask for $500 million to help militarily train the Syrian rebels. You know, the ones that were the large percentage of them are al-Qaeda. We're only going to arm the moderate ones. Right. You see how well that worked out. You know, ISIS, this group that's an al-Qaeda splinter group, broke off and backfired back into Iraq, and about, a third of Iraq is now gone. But let's play this out. So, if we help out ISIS, boy, we're kind of ruining what we did in Iraq, right? I mean, we spent a lot of blood, a lot of treasure, a lot of money. A lot of people got, maimed and mangled, killed. Nearly 5,000 of our people got killed, not to mention the thousands that got maimed and have all kinds of other disorders, stress disorders and things like that. And then we're damned if we help the existing regime, because, that's the helping the people who are part of the axis of evil. The Iranians are going to be the big winners. So, and if we do, and there's a lot of people calling for us to attack these terrorists, ISIS, okay. And so those people are supported by Saudi Arabia. Might they have told President Obama, if you attack the people we've supported and that we are supporting, we're no longer going to trade oil in dollars. We're going to take yuan, rupee, euro, or we're going to take real, or we're going to take everything. We're no longer going to trade exclusively in dollars. And if you make us mad enough, we won't even take dollars. What do you suppose would happen to the world reserve currency of the United States if that happened? And I was wondering why is President Obama being so cagey about all this? Incidentally, he knew this was blowing up. The intelligence, he knew it was blowing up according to published reports, back in February, March. He knew it was brewing, it was ugly. Now, I don't know if they want the Sunnis and the Shia to kill each other off. Nothing's good is going to come. It's going to be bloody. It's going to spike oil prices. But I wonder why that President Obama was, we can't, attack terrorists and militants with a whack-a-mole strategy, basically. Whack-a-mole is what he used the term. Why is he being so cagey? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, he's being cagey because the Saudis have probably told him, or he probably has surmised, that if we do start bombing the daylights out of ISIS out there in the open desert and start killing thousands of them, that, Saudi Arabia is going to start trading oil in something other than dollars. And then the American economy is going to plunge. So what a mess. Listen, this is going to surely spike oil prices. It already has. And it may even cause World War III. Stay tuned to the situation going on in Iraq. It is a colossal, enormous mess, and there are no easy answers and no easy way outs over in Iraq. The Ukraine crisis is, I would describe it as a ceasefire that's on again, off again, on again, off again. Well, it's definitely off since they, the pro-Russian eastern Ukraine separatists downed a Ukrainian military helicopter with 9 people on board, kind of destroyed the ceasefire. The West is basically threatening Russia with sanctions again, kind of. And then you have President Obama who comes out and says that, listen, if, the Europeans don't, impose new meaningful sanctions, I'm paraphrasing this, if they don't impose new sanctions, he's not going to impose any sanctions either on Russia. They want Russia to stop arming the Eastern European pro-Russian folks. I don't think Russia is going to invade, at least not at the moment. Why would he? But, President Obama said, well, if Europe doesn't impose sanctions, he won't either. He couldn't look any weaker. He couldn't look any more disheveled over there. And ditto for Iraq. Couldn't look any weaker. The economy plunged in the first quarter, according to the latest government revision, a lot worse than the 1% they revised, a few weeks ago. Down 2.9% in the first quarter. Yes, 2.9%. That's a negative 2.9%. And that's even worse when you consider that the fourth quarter of 2013, we had a 2.6% GDP growth. And then in the first quarter of 2014, we have a negative 2.9%. Let's see, 2.6, the difference is 5.5% top to bottom. That is like a Mexican cliff dive in deceleration, in contraction in terms of GDP. 5.5%. That is an unbelievable drop. But, never fear. The mainstream media is going to spin it where it really isn't all that bad. Here's the headline. It's an AP headline that's a reprint in a local newspaper. Analysts shrug off economic downturn. Oh, yeah, really? You just shrug it off? No big deal? They just shrug. Don't worry, people. Don't worry about a 5.5% plunge in GDP from quarter to quarter. Don't worry about any of that. Keep spending money. No big deal. Really? You can just shrug it off. The article goes on to say, harsh winter. We're back to the harsh winter. Harsh winter contributed to the biggest contraction since the depths of the recession 5 years ago. Hey, listen, you add in that, the quarter-to-quarter drop, and it is a colossal dive. It's an unbelievable dive. I mean, the MSM is delusional for printing that kind of a story. And CNBC today, we're expecting positive growth in the second quarter. Things are really going to pick up in the second half of the year. Listen, look for GDP growth to be negative in the second quarter. And if it comes out with some kind of government, gimmicks that give it a positive growth, look for it to be revised. Just like this quarter, it'll be negative. I suspect. Mark my words. Well, yeah, you've heard about the flood of illegal immigrants that's coming across the southern border. A lot of them are children. It's unbelievable. They're flooded down there. I mean, Rick Perry is down there sending out his people. They're trying to, handle all these people that are flooding across the border. You think the Obama administration or President Obama might come on and say, hey, listen, people, stop. We can't handle all these people coming into the country. We can't handle that. This is illegal immigration. We're not going to stand for it. And I'm going to send people down to the border to turn you away. And we're going to be deported. Nope. No. The Obama administration, President Obama, he must want this. He surely wants this. You remember he said he was going to fundamentally change America? Well, here it is. He's fundamentally changing America. He's going to have a lot of poor people, flood our borders and come into America. And these are people that are going to be dependent on the government, and then therefore they're going to have a massive voter drive for, Democratic voters. So no matter how bad he or any the other Democrats screw up, no matter how bad the economy gets, they'll have voters that'll vote for them. And not for, the evil Tea Party and Republicans and other people that want to, try to have a real economy here. And not just, raise the minimum wage as a way to, have economic growth. It's outrageous. And then you have, and this is all done under the ruse, in my opinion, of a humanitarian crisis. They're kids. They're children. Former Border Patrol agents are charging that this was all orchestrated by the Obama administration. Division of Homeland Security, they were advertising in January for people that would be able to escort underage minors into the country. They were looking for people back then. And 6 months later it happened. How did they know it was going to happen? Josh Earnest, press secretary for the Obama administration, says, about immigration, we're not going to sit around and wait interminably for Congress. Oh, really, Josh? You're not going to do that? You flunked your civics class? You don't understand that you guys don't make the laws, you just enforce them? Really? You don't realize there's separation of powers, executive, legislative, and then the judicial? I know you did get a little lesson on civics because the Obama administration just delivered a stunning rebuke of his overreach, and they did it when these recess appointments were made. Obama administration said, well, the Senate was in recess. No, they weren't. 9-0 decision in terms of recess appointments for the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, and 9-0 decision that, boom, unconstitutional. You can't do that. That can't, absolutely, positively cannot do that. And this might pave the way for Speaker of the House John Boehner. He's talking about suing the Obama administration about not executing the laws of the land or arbitrarily executing the laws of the land. Now, I don't know, what's going to happen and what laws he's suing over, but I would think the lack of defending our borders, the lack of enforcing existing immigration laws, the Obamacare delays, and all the exemptions that they've given out. You get to not do it, but you have to. Boehner is going to likely sue the Obama administration over the president not executing the laws. We didn't elect a king. If you don't like what's going on in Congress, you can't just get your pen and phone out and just do what you want to do. You're not royalty. Finally, the mainstream media, they're largely ignoring the IRS targeting scandal. This is outrageous. This is shameful. They should be ashamed of themselves. This is, in my opinion, much bigger than Watergate in the Nixon administration. And this is not just about targeting, but this is major fundamental attacks on our Constitution, First Amendment activities. Political groups, targeting political groups, using the IRS, one party, in this case the Obama administration, the Democrats, using the IRS to thwart their political adversaries. This is outrageous on its face. It's outrageous. Way bigger, exponentially bigger than the Nixon administration. Nixon lost 20 minutes of audio tape. They had some clumsy break-in at the Watergate Hotel, right? This is Lois Lerner and 6 other top executives at the IRS that lost 2 years worth of emails, and consequently the people who are supposed to back it up, the company that was supposed to back it up, they just, kind of lost their contract right when the investigation went on. So Lois Lerner and her cohorts, other executives at the IRS, all their hard drives crashed, at about the same time, right after the investigation started, right after the charges started. They all crashed. 7 people's hard drives crashed and burned. What do you suppose the odds are of that happening? All the people were involved in this scandal. The same people, not just 7 random people, Lois Lerner and 6 others, all people who are involved in the scandal and the targeting, supposedly. What do you suppose the odds of that happening? Well, listen, in the Nixon administration, sure, some laws were broken, but at its core, you know what the real problem was? The cover-up. Obstruction of justice. And if this isn't a cover-up, I don't know what is. I mean, the odds of Lois Lerner and 6 other executives involved in this scandal, all their hard drives crashing at the same time, the odds of that happening have to be exponential. They have to be in the quadrillions. And yet, no investigation, no special prosecutor appointed. Eric Holder, not a story. The mainstream media, we're not. But even some people in the mainstream media are going one step further. For example, Chuck Todd over at NBC. I mean, this is outrageous. Talk about a political hack. Talk about a biased political hack. Not a journalist. Not. You have to be objective, non-biased to be a real journalist. Chuck Todd, NBC's political director and chief White House correspondent, he goes even further in saying, hey, this isn't a real story. And I'll tell you what the real story is. The real story is whether explicitly political organizations should be filing as tax-exempt social welfare groups under the tax code. Sorry, Chuck, that's not the story. The real story are major violations of the First Amendment and First Amendment activities. Multiple crimes were committed, including, obviously, obstruction of justice, a cover-up. The mainstream media, any media, should not want one political party, whether it be the Democrats or the Republicans, using the IRS as a tool to thwart their political enemies. I mean, think about this. If this was if this was George Bush, he didn't do this, but if this was George Bush doing this, this would be on the front page of every paper all across the country ad nauseum for weeks, months, years, however long it took to kick that president out of office. And, we found out early this week on Monday that, they were supposed to, by law, keep, all the records, all the emails backed up. Here's what came out the day after in USA Today. I mean, this is like Tiger Beat. I mean, here we have this is the day after the major First Amendment violations, major cover-up with the lost emails and all these, year after gay marriage ruling, charged the land, changed the land. And here's, college degrees still pay off? Nothing in the newspaper basically about the IRS targeting scandal. Major First Amendment violations. That's what newspapers, that's what the media is all about, the First Amendment. Chuck Todd saying, the real story is, whether, political organizations should be filing as a tax-exempt social welfare groups under that's not the story. You doing that, you are not a journalist. You, Chuck Todd, should be ashamed of yourself. If I was president of NBC, I'd fire you for that. And you know what? You out there in the alternative media, you should fire the MSM for this. You talk about being biased. You talk about not looking out for you. Outrageous. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Try to go out and have yourself a nice weekend.